Thanks,
all right, so let me ask you a question. We got all these controversial czars. You know, one guy supports forced sterilization. We got another guy praising a guy from NAMBLA. You know, I can go through the list. I won't spend all the time to irritate Bob. Now we've got this woman who starts a war against Fox News, who, Richard, praises Mao, one of the biggest mass murderers in history. Now, do you think she should be fired?
Well, praising someone who's killed more than 70 million people while speaking to school kids. Yeah. Clearly, I think that this White House is badly in need of a chief of staff. They're really in need of some adult supervision to say, wait a minute, there's certain things you just don't say in public. If you reverse that, it was a Republican president, somebody praising Hitler, the guy would be gone in a second.
All right, I was saying,
clearly, she needs to go.
Beckel, you're going to enjoy this. I want you to gloat, and I want you to regurgitate this and remember this and etch this in your memory. I, Sean Hannity, have been wrong. Okay? And I'll tell you what I was wrong about. I got into this early. We didn't finish my thought. Is that I had been saying the president doesn't have good advisors around him. But I disagree with myself now. I think I've come to the conclusion these are the very people he wants around him because they fit his ideological bent, which is radical.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Now? Okay. First of all, we're talking about Anita Dunn here, who mentioned Mao in some Chinese proverb thing. I mean, you guys, if this is where you're going, this is the best you can do, then you're really weak. I mean, it is weak. But look, the issue here is the question of the Fox News issue, which is something very near and dear to my heart, since I've been on this network now for 6 years. And I will say this: what I don't understand is. They can disagree with you, and they should, because they're right and you're wrong. And so is Beck and so is O'Reilly. But the rest of these shows are news shows and good shows. And why they leave this up to a few of us to come on here against wingnuts. I mean, if you can't, I have to go up against Michelle Bachmann, against Michelle Malkin. I mean, if you can't handle Michelle Bachmann, you Democrats out there won't come on. You don't deserve to be in the business.
Have I been fair to you? Do you have a fair?
Yes, you have. But look, what I'm saying is, I'm in a very difficult position. So is Penny. I mean, I get heat from the left and the right. I mean, I get squeezed from both directions.
But wait a minute. When you come on this program, you get a fair shake, right?
Yeah, honestly. I get a fair shake when you stop speaking. I get a fair shake.
No, you get a fair shake.
No, yeah,
you get a fair shake.
Absolutely, you give us the forum to which to speak.
Barack Obama doesn't get a fair shake on this program.
Barack Obama doesn't. He's destroying the economy and weakening the country.
The greatest single economic president since Franklin Roosevelt.
All right, now here with FoxNews.com, 131,765 people responded, and you know what the overwhelming majority say? You know what? They're shooting the messenger.
Right.
And it seems like the president of the United States, to me, 2 wars, you know, unemployment at 10%, you know, we've got problems all over the economic spectrum. He wants to take over health care. You'd think he'd have more important things to do.
You know, and this, you know, Bob and I were talking about this earlier. You don't shoot the messenger. When you need a vacuum filled, you don't fill it with silence. And so you do. I mean, there are legitimate complaints. There are some, you know, but you have to also give the American public credit. I think that they can distinguish between opinion, columnists, and those that are legitimate news. Does Glenn Beck say things that I don't agree with? Absolutely. Do they count that as his own opinion? Completely. Does Chris Matthews say things about tingling up his leg? Exactly. Chris Matthews that I don't agree with. But people say that's his opinion. So there's a difference, a legitimacy between columnists.
There's another aspect to this. And you know what it is? They are used to fawning coverage. They can't handle basic questions, Bob.
Well, I mean, but this is not. If there ever was fawning coverage of Obama on this program, everybody would go into a cardiac arrest.
Media.
But no, listen, let me make that point here. I think I know something about the Fox viewership. I polled it several times. What amazes me is that as much as I am maybe outnumbered most Mondays or other days of the week, I speak to more persuadable voters in a week than CNN or MSNBC does in a year. And so why it is that we're sitting here going into an election year, we've got 1 million people who are persuadable voters watch. There's assumption among Democrats and liberals that the people who watch these shows are all Republican voters, and it's wrong. It is wrong. It doesn't make any political sense.
Richard, you know, this is the problem with the left, though. It's been dominating the colleges and universities for so long, it's gotten into the habit of censorship. Yeah. Now you take people out of higher education, you put them in the White House, and their first impulse when they hear a bit of criticism is not to understand free speech and what this country is built on, but to censor. And this is why we need to clean up the schools, too.
Let me throw this to Penny. But Anita Dunn said some other revealing things. You know, she mentioned that this guy Plouffe, whatever his name is, you know, that through the press, you know, that it was a way for us to get our message out without having to actually talk to reporters. So we very much controlled it as opposed, meaning the press. In other words, the press fell hook, line, and sinker, which is why they didn't cover Bill Ayers and Reverend Wright.
A little bit out of context. I mean,
that was a quote.
What she was doing was talking about kind of what happened in the last campaign. And that is something that you do when you have a candidate. You try to control the message that you're doing. This was one of the best and the most disciplined campaign. I think everybody would agree on that.
And what they were saying. So they weren't
controlling.
Answer that. Say that again.
Isn't that the key question? The press's job is not to be controlled. It is to fight the controlling
influence. They were hoping, and they put it out in other mechanisms, but they weren't controlling the press.
Why can't the press apply the same skepticism that it has against big companies, against President Obama?
And the responsibility of a campaign manager, of which I've been one several times, is to keep the press out of it. Not let. She's exactly right. If you can get away with getting your message out without having to talk to the press, you've done your job.
You
have done your job.
The job of the press is to defeat you in your job and to break through and get the real story.
Well, if they can't break through and get it, that's their problem.
Wait a minute, but isn't the problem that they agreed with the president? They cheerleaded for the president. The journalism died in 2008 because they didn't ask the questions and they allowed themselves to be manipulated.
Yeah, they're Shih Tzus, not attack dogs.
Wait a second. Obama took plenty tough questions in 2008, particularly when the press got accused of being fawning. Yes, he did.
I would say Bill O'Reilly was the only person to ask him tough questions.
And he went on, Bill O'Reilly, and did that. Now, I'm waiting for him to make his first move to come on with you. Did you get your Christmas invitation yet to the White House?
Do you expect one?
I'm surprised. I'm shocked you didn't get an early
By the way, if the president sends me an invitation to the White House for Christmas, I will go.
Okay, and let me just say this. I love you, but don't wait too long.
Bob and I are still waiting for ours.
All right, let not your heart be troubled. We have more with our great, great, great American panel straight ahead.